Welcome back as we continue on in the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game. We're in the Dragon's Demand Storybook, and we're getting ready to be spirited away. So in this adventure, we are attacking some griots who have been kidnapping the townsfolk. We're going to have 4 locations in this setup. We're going to start in the castle, and for this scenario, we can only move when we close a location. Then we're going to move to the next location on the list. So we'll go start in the castle, to the stable, to the farm, to the cell. And the cell is where the villain is located. Before we encounter the rescue, we need to summon and encounter the danger. If not defeated, the rescue is evaded. When you would draw a new ally for defeating the rescue, instead draw the rescue proxy. For rescue proxy, you would go anywhere other than a character's hand, shuffle it into your location. When you encounter the villain, before acting, bury 1d4 cards, and after acting, if each character cannot reveal a rescue proxy, the villain is undefeated. So we want to get these rescues and put them in our hands so that at the end we can defeat the griots. And if we can successfully do this, each character will get a hero point, and a character gets the loot armor, Void Glass armor. So for leveling up from our last adventure, for Valeros, I've checked on for a local combat check or diplomacy check. We may reload or recharge a weapon to try to help him out there. And for Sione, now whenever she recharges an arcane spell, we may instead shuffle it into our deck instead of just recharging it. So to draw a starting hand, Valeros will get 4 cards. Looking for a sword. No sword here, so we'll try again. And now we have a sword, so we'll shuffle these back in our deck. Ended up with our Worm Smite, a Blessing, Flaming Mace, and an Elixir of Healing. For Sione, she'll get 6 cards. And looking for a spell. And we have a Firebolt spell, so she's ready to go with a bodyguard, some bracers of protection, a weapon, and 2 blessings. So for our first location, this location you may avenge by recharging a card. To close, bury a weapon or the top card of your deck. And then when closed, you may heal a weapon or an armor. So for first hour, after discarding any number of cards, as damage, draw a card. And we will go ahead and explore, finding a cave lizard in the castle. So we've got a combat of 13 or perception of 6. If proficient with armors, add a d6 to the combat check. And we are proficient with armors. Damage is increased by 1d4, so we do not want to take damage from this guy. So for the fight, we will reveal our sword to get our d10 plus 2. Which is also going to have an additional plus 1. So we're adding 3 to that. Then a d8 plus 2, and this is not a Dragonbane. We'll also reload to add another d4. And we'll have Sione bless this, adding another d10. So we are looking for a 13, and we're adding 3 to this roll. So we've got 10, 14, 15 plus 3 more, so we've defeated the lizard. We'll go ahead and discard our mace here and draw 2 cards. Getting our Worm Smite and a guide. Then for Sione's turn, on your non-attack combat check, add 1. She'll explore, finding a soldier. So a charisma, diplomacy, or melee check of 4. Her diplomacy is a d12 plus 2. So we'll just go with that. Getting a 13, so now she has befriended a soldier. And then we will go ahead and use him to discard to explore. In this exploration, on your strength and melee checks, add a d4. Finding a helmet. So Constitution or Fortitude of 4. She has a d6. So give that a shot. Getting a 3. So we did not get the helmet. And we'll in turn drawing a card. Getting a Staff of Minor Healing. Back to Valeros. On your check against an undead card, add a d6. Exploring. Finding an archer. Charisma, Diplomacy, or Ranged of 4. Our ranged is a d8 plus 1. So we ended up with an 8. So now we have an archer. So we'll go ahead and use her to discard to explore. This exploration, on your dexterity or range checks, add a d4. And we find a proxy. So that is the rescue. But before we encounter that, we have to go after and defeat our villain. So we're going to need a 14. Immune to cold. If undefeated, discard the top card of your deck and suffer the scourge dazed. So we will go after him with our Worm Smite, getting our D10 plus 3, a D8 plus 2. Let's see, what do we need for... Need strength melee for them too. So in that case, we will not reload this. We will plus this check to add another D10. We're adding 3 to this roll, so we're looking for a total of 14. So we've got 12 and 16 plus some more, so we've defeated him for this round, which means now we can go after the rescue. Strength melee or charisma diplomacy, we'll need an 8 or 10. And of course, we're best with the strength melee. On the check to defeat, you may recharge any number of allies. For each ally recharged, add a d4. If defeated, draw a new ally that lists diplomacy. But for this scenario, we'll just put the proxy in our hand. So for the rescue, we're going to reveal our sword. Needing an 8, we're adding 3 to this die roll. Getting a 12 plus 3. So we've rescued. So we'll put this in our hand. And then we will attempt to close. So we need to bury a weapon or the top card of our deck. And since this is the only weapon we have in hand, we will bury the top card of our deck, which is a prayer. So the location is closed. And when closed, you may heal a weapon or an armor. So we'll get our flaming mace. It's the only weapon we have, and shuffle that into our deck. Then for closing, we both will move over to the stable. So when you acquire an ally, you may shuffle a new ally into a random other location. To close your guard, succeed at a charisma, diplomacy, or survival of 7. And when closed, no effect. With the proxy card, we have 4 cards in hand. We'll go ahead and end our turn and go over to Sione. No effect for this hour. She's looking at some chainmail. Constitution, Fortitude of 5. Constitution is a D6. Missed it by 1. Use her Staff of Minor Healing. Recharge to heal a local character or card. She'll choose herself. Take a random card that will be shuffled into the deck. And we will end turn drawing a card, finding a crow. On to Valeros. No effect for the hour. Take a look here. Find a lost local. Charisma Diplomacy of 5 or Survival of 7. And we have a D6 plus 2 for Diplomacy. And nothing to boost, so just the D6. And we get a 6. So we've helped out the lost locals. And we'll just remove this barrier. And we'll pass turn to Sione. For the hour, on your stealth check, or your check that invokes the poison trait, add a D4. Find the rescue again. So far things are looking good for us. So we will encounter the Storybane villain here. It's immune to cold. So we'll use a firebolt. We'll get a D12 plus 2 for the arcane, plus 2D6. And set this card aside. We've got nothing else to boost, so we're adding 2 to this die roll, looking for a 14. Getting 11, 15 plus 2 more. So we defeated the Bane. And now we're going into a strength melee or charisma check. So we'll go for a charisma. We'll need a 10 or a D12 plus 2. And we've got nothing to help, so it's just going to be this die plus 2. Getting an 11. So just enough. The dice is with us so far. And we will add this proxy to our hand. Now we will attempt to close, needing a diplomacy of 7. And for this, on any check to close or guard, recharge to add a D12. The check counts as blessed. So it will be 2D12 plus 2. And we're looking for a 7. And we have a 7 plus some more, plus our modifiers. So we've closed yet another location. Things are going a bit too easy, makes me wonder. So we move over to the farm. All right, on your check that invokes the animal or plant trait, or when you play any number of animal or plant cards on a check, add a D6. To close or guard, need a craft, diplomacy, or survival of 6. And when closed, you may draw a new animal ally. So we just move those out of the way. And we'll just move these a little closer. End of turn, we'll shuffle our card into our deck because of our upgraded ability. And draw 1 card, getting a wall of light. We'll add our rescue and villain over here, just so we don't have an empty space. And pass turn to Valeros. When you heal, you may heal an additional card. Go ahead and encounter here. Finding a returning throwing axe. So strength, dexterity, melee, or ranged 10. Not too concerned. We get a D10 plus 3 on this. Getting a 6. So we will lose our throwing axe. And since time is in our favor for now, we'll just go ahead and end our turn and go to Sione. No effect for the hour. Finding a brain ooze, combat of 12. The brain ooze in the farm. Immune to mental or poison. All damage is mental damage that may not be reduced. If undefeated, suffer the Scourge Frightened. If you already have a Frightened marker, discard the top card of your deck instead. So what we will do is use her special ability to recharge a spell for our combat. Give us our arcane, which is a d12 plus 2, plus 2d4, plus the card's level. We're going to use this to give us another plus 3. So we'll recharge that. And just make sure that doesn't give us mental or poison. Nope, we're good. So we're adding 5 to this roll. So we've got 11, 15, plus 5 more. So we've smashed the brain ooze up. And we will, in turn, drawing a card. Finding a blessing. On to Valeris's turn. No effect for the hour. Exploring. We found a thunderstorm. Display this barrier at your location. While displayed, when you start your turn at this location, roll a d4. On a 1, suffer 1d6 electricity damage, then banish this barrier. On any other result, display this barrier next to a random location. All right. So we've got a big storm coming up at the farm. And since that is going to do a lot of possible damage, we'll go ahead and use our elixir to heal 1d4 plus 1 cards. We have 2 cards, so it's going to be a minimum of 2, but I like rolling dice. Could have healed 4, so we will shuffle that into our deck. And draw a card, finding a flaming mace. So start of the turn, we'll roll a d4 and see if the thunderstorm does anything. 3, so we're safe for now. Advance the hour, no effect. Take a look in the pile, find a lookout, charisma, diplomacy, or perception for 5. So we're a d12 plus 2. Getting a 14. So we found a lookout. And then we're going to discard our lookout. This exploration, you may evade your encounters. Found a giant slug. Wisdom survival of 6. Our wisdom is a d6 plus 1. So there's a chance. Got a 3. So our giant slug sees us and just goes off to the other side of the farm. And we will end our turn. So for Valeris, we'll check out the thunderstorm. Another 3. Hour check, no effect. Then exploring, finding our 3rd rescue. But first, a fight, needing a 14. We'll test out our flaming mace. So we'll get our d10 plus 2, or plus 3, I'm sorry, plus a d8, plus a d4. Then we'll have Sione Bless, giving us another d10. And we're looking for 14 here, and we're adding 3 to this. So we've got 7, 11, 13, 14, 17, plus some more. So we've fended off against that for now. Now for our check to rescue, we'll get all these same. So the d10 plus 3, a d8, and a d4. Looking for an 8. Getting an 8, 11, 14 plus 3. So now we've got another dead card in our hand. We will discard the flaming mace. Close, we need a diplomacy of 6. Our diplomacy is a d6 plus 2. We will use our guide on a local check to close our guard, recharge to add a d6. And that's all we've got. So we're looking for a 6 here, and we're adding 2 to this roll. So we got 7 plus 2, so we've got a 9. So we've closed this location. I guess our barrier will go away. And we will move over towards our cell and final location, which should have our villain in it. End of turn, I will draw a card, getting a standard bear, and pass turn to Sione. For the hour, on your check against a spell, add a d4. And we found a dire bear. So we've got a combat of 10, then going into a combat of 11. When you would reveal a melee weapon on a check to defeat, recharge it instead. All right. So we're going to have to use our special power here for a combat check. Discard a card. So we can get our d12 plus 2 and 2d4. Looking for a 10, adding 2 to this roll. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 2 gets us to 11. And now for another attack, we're going to use our power again, discarding our crow. Doing the same thing. So we're adding 2 to this. Getting 8, 9, 10, 11. Whew, close one. So the boar is gone. Go ahead and end our turn and draw 3 cards. Getting a blessing, a spell, and a staff of minor healing. I don't think I mentioned what this cell did. You cannot move unless you either bury an ally or succeed at a strength, so we're not bothered about moving. To close, either bury an ally or succeed at a strength check. So that should be easy. Hopefully we can keep an ally in hand. And when closed, draw a new ally. So passing turn to Valeros. For the hour, on your blessed check, you may reroll any dice showing a 1. Take a peek. Captain America's shield. A brute force shield. Constitution, fortitude of 8. Looks pretty nice. When you suffer acid, combat, or fire damage, freely reveal to reduce it by 2. If proficient, for your disable check against a lockbane, or for your combat check, recharge to use your strength or melee 1d6 plus 1. After playing this armor, you may not play two-handed boon this encounter. It's pretty nice. So our fortitude is a d8 plus 2. And we'll have our standard bearer recharge to add a d4 to this. So we are adding 2, looking for an 8. And we got a 12. So we found ourselves a shield. So to end our turn, we'll recharge our weapon. We have 4 cards in hand, so we are done. So for Sione, for the hour, no effect. And we have our villain proxy. So this is our villain. We need to bury 1d4 cards. Looking for 4. Well, that really sucks. So we'll bury these 4 cards. For our fight, we're going to use our special ability, recharge this card to get our d12 plus 2 plus 2d4. No bonuses, so it's all down to a die roll. We are adding 2 to this roll. And we've got 7, 10, 11, 12. Adding 2 gets us right to 14. So we have defeated the villain. Then each character must reveal a proxy in hand, which we can do. So this was the only other card Sione had, and Valeris had 2. So that's going to end this adventure. So our loot for this. So void glass armor. Display. While displayed, when you suffer any damage, you may recharge to reduce it by 1. When you would discard cards from your deck or as mental damage, you may recharge to recharge them instead. And if proficient, when you suffer any damage, you may bury to reduce to 0. You may succeed at a Fortitude 6 check to recharge instead. So probably something Valeris might put in his deck. And each hero will get a hero point to level something up with. Well, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.